The pregnancy test stared back at me from the bathroom counter, its single line mocking me like it had every month for the past 3 years. I swept it into the trash with the others, my hands shaking not from hope anymore, but from pure exhaustion. My name is Stephanie, and I'm 36 years old. I should probably start there since this story gets complicated fast. I'm a senior marketing manager at a tech company, married to Todd for 8 years, and we've been trying to have a baby for longer than I care to admit. The kind of trying that involves calendars, temperature charts, hormone injections that turn you into a weeping mess, and credit card bills that could fund a small country. Steph? Todd's voice drifted through the bathroom door. Everything okay in there? Fine, I called back, splashing cold water on my face. The woman in the mirror looked hollow-eyed and defeated. I barely recognized her anymore. When I emerged, Todd was sitting on our bed, laptop balanced on his knees, pretending to work. We'd perfected this dance. Him giving me space to fall apart, me pretending I wasn't falling apart. The elephant in the room had grown so large it was practically paying rent. The clinic called, he said quietly. Dr. Martinez wants to discuss next steps. Next steps, as if there were any left. We'd burned through our savings, maxed out 2 credit cards, and I'd turned into the kind of woman who avoided baby showers and unfriended pregnant acquaintances on social media. The last IVF cycle had failed spectacularly, taking what remained of my optimism with it. The doorbell rang, saving us from another conversation about adoption brochures or taking a break. I heard my sister's laugh before I saw her, that bright, careless sound that could fill a room and make everyone else feel like supporting characters in her story. Surprise! Ren burst through our front door like a hurricane in designer jeans, arms full of takeout bags, and that megawatt smile that had been getting her out of trouble since we were kids. I brought Thai food and wine. Well, wine for me, green tea for the fertility goddess. She dumped everything on our kitchen counter and pulled me into a hug that smelled like expensive perfume and possibility. Ren was 28, 8 years younger, and everything came easy to her. Jobs, men, that effortless beauty that made strangers do double takes. She'd never had to try for anything, which made her the worst possible person to understand what I was going through, and somehow the only person whose presence didn't make me want to scream. How are you holding up? She asked, studying my face with those sharp green eyes we'd inherited from our mother. I'm fine, I lied. The same lie I'd been telling everyone. Bullshit. She started unpacking containers of pad thai and green curry. Todd, tell your wife she looks like death warmed over. I'm staying out of this, Todd said, but he was smiling for the first time in weeks. We ate dinner on the couch, Ren regaling us with stories about her latest job at a boutique marketing firm and her on-again, off-again relationship with some guy named Ricky. She had this way of making everything sound like an adventure, even getting fired for showing up late or having her car repossessed. You know what you need? She said, pointing her chopsticks at me. A vacation, somewhere tropical with drinks that come with little umbrellas. What I need is a baby, I said before I could stop myself. The words hung in the air like smoke. Ren set down her wine glass and leaned forward, suddenly serious. Steph, she said quietly, what if I could help with that? What do you mean? I mean, what if I carried a baby for you? Like officially, surrogacy. Todd nearly choked on his beer. Ren, that's generous, I finished, my heart hammering against my ribs. That's incredibly generous, but nothing. I'm young, healthy, and let's face it, I could use the stability. You guys take care of me for 9 months, I take care of your baby. Everyone wins. The offer hung between us like a lifeline thrown to a drowning woman. I wanted to grab it with both hands, but something held me back. Maybe it was the way she'd said, everyone wins, like she was closing a business deal. Maybe it was the memory of all the times Ren's grand gestures had ended in disaster. Think about it, she said, gathering her purse. I'm serious about this, Steph. Let me do this for you. After she left, I found myself in the kitchen, cleaning up the takeout containers. That's when I saw it, a photograph, half burned, sticking out of our trash can. I pulled it out carefully. It was Ren with a man I didn't recognize, both of them laughing at some private joke. The edges were singed, like someone had tried to destroy it but changed their mind. I stared at the photo, a chill running down my spine. Who burns pictures? And why had my sister thrown it away in my kitchen trash instead of her own? 3 months later, our house had transformed into Ren's personal spa retreat. She'd moved into our master bedroom for the baby's health, she'd insisted, while Todd and I relocated to the guest room down the hall. The irony wasn't lost on me that I was sleeping in a twin bed while my sister enjoyed the king-size mattress I'd picked out for the family I thought I'd be starting. "Steph, can you grab me some of those prenatal vitamins?" Ren called from the living room, where she was sprawled across our leather sectional in a silk robe that cost more than my monthly grocery budget. The expensive ones, not the generic. I bit back my response and retrieved the bottle from the kitchen counter. The receipt was still attached. $68 for a month's supply. Everything for Ren had to be premium: organic food, designer maternity clothes, weekly prenatal massages. The credit card statements were starting to look like a luxury hotel bill. "Here," I said, handing her the vitamins along with a glass of filtered water. "You're an angel." She popped 2 pills and settled back into the cushions. "Oh, I meant to tell you. I scheduled a spa day for next week. Just a facial and mani-pedi, nothing crazy." "How much?" "Only $300. It's important for my stress levels, and stress is bad for the baby." Everything was bad for the baby, according to Ren. Cheap food, uncomfortable furniture, synthetic fabrics, tap water. The list grew longer every week, and so did our expenses. Todd appeared in the doorway, still in his work clothes. "How was the doctor's appointment?" "Perfect," Ren beamed. "Baby's growing right on schedule. Dr. Martinez said everything looks great." "That's wonderful," I said, forcing enthusiasm into my voice. "Did you get the ultrasound photos?" "Oh, right." Ren rummaged through her purse, pulling out a crumpled envelope. "Here somewhere. I think I left them in the car." She'd been forgetting a lot lately: appointments, paperwork, conversations we'd had the day before. When I mentioned it to Todd, he shrugged it off as pregnancy brain, but something felt off. The doorbell rang, interrupting my thoughts. Through the window, I saw a delivery truck pulling away and a stack of packages on our porch. "Ooh, those are mine!" Ren bounced up with surprising energy for someone who'd been too tired to walk to the mailbox an hour earlier. I helped her carry in 6 boxes, all addressed to our house but with her name. Designer maternity wear, a pregnancy pillow that cost $200, and something called a prenatal sound system for playing classical music to the baby. "Ren, we need to talk about the spending," I said as she tore into the packages like Christmas morning. "It's all necessary," she said, not looking up from a cashmere sweater. "I'm growing your baby. Don't you want me to be comfortable?" The guilt hit like a physical blow. She was right. She was carrying our child, sacrificing her body for our dream. But watching her model a $400 maternity dress in our living room, I felt like we were funding a lifestyle rather than a pregnancy. My phone buzzed with a text from Genesis, my best friend since college. "Coffee tomorrow. Need to catch up." "I'm going out for a bit," I told Todd, grabbing my keys. "Where?" "Just out." I drove aimlessly for 20 minutes before ending up at the park where Todd and I used to walk on weekends, back when we still talked about things other than ovulation schedules and medical bills. A young mother pushed her toddler on the swings, both of them laughing at some private joke. My phone rang. "Mom." "Hi, sweetheart. How's our little mama doing?" "She's fine, Mom. Expensive, but fine." "Oh, you know Ren. She's always had champagne taste on a beer budget. Remember when she was 16 and convinced me she needed that designer prom dress?" I remembered. I also remembered working double shifts at my part-time job to help pay for it, while Ren got ready for prom with her friends. "She's really stepped up, though," Mom continued. "I'm so proud of her for doing this for you. It shows real maturity." Maturity? Right. When I got home, the house was quiet. Todd was in his office, door closed, probably working late again. It had become his escape, staying at the office until Wren was asleep, leaving early in the morning before she woke up. We were like ships passing in the night, connected only by our shared investment in my sister's pregnancy. I found Wren in the kitchen, standing at the counter with her back to me. She was on the phone, voice low and urgent. I know, just be patient, okay? It's almost over. Once the baby comes, we'll be set for life. She turned around and saw me, her face flushing. I have to go, she said quickly, ending the call. Who was that? Just a friend, checking on me. I nodded, but something cold settled in my stomach. The mail was scattered across the counter, and one envelope caught my eye. A medical bill addressed to Wren Mann. Who's Mann? I asked, picking up the envelope. Wren snatched it away. Nobody. It's a mistake. You know how messed up medical billing is. But I'd seen the address, our address, and the name was printed clearly. Wren Mann. Not Wren Hansen, like it should have been. Mann. The coffee shop was nearly empty at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday, just me and Genesis huddled over our usual table by the window. She'd been my closest friend since college, the kind of person who could read my face like a book and wasn't afraid to tell me what she saw. You look terrible, she said, stirring her latte, and before you say you're fine, don't. I've known you too long for that bullshit. It's just everything with Wren, the pregnancy, the money. How much money? I pulled out my phone and showed her the credit card statement. Her eyebrows shot up. Jesus, Steph, $15,000 in 3 months? It's for the baby, I said automatically, the phrase I'd been repeating like a mantra. She needs to be comfortable, stress-free. She needs a reality check. Genesis leaned forward. This isn't normal pregnancy expenses. This is someone taking advantage. She's carrying our child. Is she, though? The question hung in the air like a challenge. Genesis had never liked Wren, said she was too charming, too willing to let other people clean up her messes. But this felt different. This felt like an accusation. What's that supposed to mean? I'm just saying, have you actually seen any medical records? Been to any appointments with her? She prefers to go alone, says it's too emotional with me there. Genesis gave me a look that could have melted steel. Steph, listen to yourself. You're paying for everything. She's living in your house, sleeping in your bed, and you're not even allowed at the doctor's appointments? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. A text from Wren. Running errands, need $200 for baby supplies. Can you Venmo? I showed Genesis the message. She shook her head. Don't send it. It's for baby supplies. Then ask for receipts. Ask to go with her. Ask to see what she's buying. I stared at the message, my finger hovering over the Venmo app. Genesis was right. When had I become so passive in my own life? I need to go, I said, standing up. Steph, wait. I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm trying to protect you. From what? From being played. I drove home with Genesis's words echoing in my head. The house was empty when I arrived. Wren's car was gone, probably on her mysterious errands. I found myself standing in the master bedroom, looking around like I was seeing it for the first time. Wren's clothes were everywhere, expensive pieces with tags still attached. The nightstand was cluttered with prenatal vitamins, face creams, and a stack of what looked like bills. I shouldn't have looked, but I did. Credit card statements, not mine. These had Wren's name on them. The balances made my stomach drop. She owed over $20,000 across 3 different cards, all maxed out. The minimum payments alone were more than most people's rent. My phone rang. Soleil, our family lawyer, and Mom's old college roommate. Hey, Steph, how's everything going with the surrogacy? Fine, I think. Why? Just checking in. You know, making sure everyone's following the contract we drew up. The contract. I'd almost forgotten about it in the chaos of the past few months. Soleil had insisted on it before we started the IVF process, said it would protect everyone involved. Actually, can you send me a copy? I want to review it. Of course. Everything okay? Just being thorough. 20 minutes later, the contract was in my inbox. 47 pages of legal language that I'd signed without reading carefully, trusting Soleil to protect our interests. Now I read every word. The financial clauses were ironclad. Every payment to Ren was classified as a loan, not a gift. Any deviation from the agreed upon terms would trigger immediate repayment of all funds advanced. The genetic material clause was particularly specific. Any attempt to substitute different embryos would constitute fraud. I was still reading when I heard Ren's car in the driveway. She came through the front door carrying shopping bags from high-end baby stores, humming to herself. "Hey sis, look what I got for our little one." She pulled out a designer baby carrier that probably cost more than my car payment. "How much was that?" "Don't worry about it. I used my own card." The same card that was maxed out according to the statement upstairs. "Ren, we need to talk about money." Her smile faltered. "What about it?" "You're spending too much. Way too much." "I'm pregnant with your baby, Stephanie. I think I deserve a little comfort." "A little comfort, yes, but $15,000 in 3 months, designer everything, spa treatments twice a week?" "You're keeping track." Her voice turned cold. "Like I'm some kind of employee?" "You're living in my house, sleeping in my bed, and I'm paying for everything. Yes, I'm keeping track." She stared at me for a long moment, and I saw something flicker across her face. Calculation, maybe, or fear. Then the mask slipped back into place. "I'm going to lie down. This stress isn't good for the baby." She headed upstairs, leaving me standing in the living room surrounded by shopping bags and receipts. I picked up one of the bags and looked inside. Baby clothes, but not just any baby clothes. Everything was size 0-3 months, newborn sizes, for a baby that wasn't due for another 4 months. My phone was still in my hand when I heard Ren's voice drifting down from upstairs. She was on the phone again, speaking in that same urgent whisper I'd heard before. "Don't worry, it's almost done. We'll be set for life." This time, I crept up the stairs to listen. She's getting suspicious, but it doesn't matter. Once the baby comes, she'll have to pay up or lose everything. My blood turned to ice. I pressed myself against the wall, straining to hear more. "Ricky, I know it's risky, but think about the payout. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe more." Ricky, the name from the burned photograph. I stood frozen on the stairs, my heart pounding so loud I was sure Ren could hear it through the bedroom door. The conversation continued, but her voice dropped lower. I caught fragments. Bank account, contract, and she won't know until it's too late. My hands were shaking as I crept back downstairs. I needed proof, something concrete, but I also needed to act normal. If Ren suspected I'd overheard, she might disappear, taking whatever was left of my money and my dreams with her. The front door opened and Todd walked in, home early for once. He took one look at my face and set down his briefcase. "What's wrong?" "We need to talk." "Not here." I grabbed his arm and pulled him toward the garage, closing the door behind us. In the dim light between our cars, I told him everything: the credit card statements, the mysterious phone calls, the name Man on the medical bills. "You think she's scamming us?" Todd's voice was barely a whisper. "I think she's scamming us big time." "But the pregnancy is real. We've seen the ultrasounds." "Have we? Or have we seen photos she's shown us?" Todd ran his hands through his hair, a gesture I recognized from our worst fights. "Steph, if you're right, if she's really God, what do we do?" "We get proof, and we protect ourselves." That night, I lay awake in the guest room while Todd snored softly beside me. Every creak of the house made me jump. Around 2 a.m., I heard Ren's door open and her footsteps on the stairs. I waited 5 minutes, then followed. She was in the kitchen, standing by the sliding glass door with her phone pressed to her ear. The patio light was off, but I could see her silhouette against the window. "I can't keep this up much longer," she was saying. "She's asking too many questions." I pressed myself against the wall, straining to hear. No, the money's not enough. We need the house too. That's where the real value is. The house. Our house. The one Todd and I had bought together, the one we'd planned to fill with children. Trust me, Ricky, once I have the baby, she'll sign over anything to keep it. That's how desperate she is. My vision blurred with rage. I wanted to storm into that kitchen and confront her, but something held me back. Maybe it was the lawyer in me, the part that knew accusations without proof were worthless. The next morning, Wren was all smiles at breakfast, chattering about nursery decorations and baby names. She'd made pancakes from a box mix that cost $12 because it was organic and gluten-free. I was thinking we should start interviewing pediatricians, she said, pouring syrup that probably cost more than a bottle of wine. I want only the best for our little one. Our little one. The possessive pronoun made my skin crawl. Actually, I'd like to come to your next doctor's appointment, I said casually. I feel like I'm missing out on too much. Wren's fork paused halfway to her mouth. Oh, you don't need to do that. It's just routine stuff. I want to. I'm the baby's mother. Biological mother, she corrected, and something sharp flashed in her eyes. I'm the one actually carrying the baby. Todd looked between us, sensing the tension. Maybe we could all go together, make it a family thing. The appointment's been moved, Wren said quickly. Something about the doctor's schedule. I'll let you know when it's rescheduled. After breakfast, I called Dr. Martinez's office directly. Hi, this is Stephanie Hansen. I'm calling about my sister Wren's appointment schedule. I'm sorry, but we don't have any patients by that name. My blood turned to ice. Wren Hansen? She's been seeing Dr. Martinez for prenatal care. Let me check our system. No, I'm not showing any Hansen patients in our prenatal program. I hung up and immediately called Soleil. I need you to run a background check on someone, I said without preamble. Steph? What's going on? Just do it. The name is Ricky Mann. I need to know everything about him. This is about Wren, isn't it? Please, Soleil, I'll explain later. 2 hours later, my phone rang. You're not going to like this, Soleil said. Ricky Mann, 32, unemployed, multiple arrests for fraud and identity theft. Currently has 3 active warrants in 2 different states. The room started spinning. What kind of fraud? Fake charity scams, mostly. He and his girlfriend would target wealthy families, usually ones dealing with medical issues or family crises. They'd pose as people in need, collect money, then disappear. His girlfriend? Yeah, a woman named Wren Mann. They've been running cons together for at least 2 years. Wren Mann. Not my sister taking his name for some romantic reason. They were partners, professional scammers who'd been planning this from the beginning. Soleil, I need you to freeze all our accounts, right now. Already on it. I'm also putting a hold on any property transfers or major financial transactions. Can you meet me tonight? I need to know exactly what our options are. Of course, but Steph, if what I think is happening is really happening, you need to be very careful. These people are professionals. After I hung up, I sat in my car in the parking lot of a grocery store I'd driven to without thinking. My phone buzzed with a text from Todd. Wren's asking for another $500. Says it's for maternity clothes. What should I tell her? I stared at the message, my hands trembling with rage and something else. A cold, calculating fury I'd never felt before. They thought I was just another Mark, another desperate woman they could manipulate and rob. They had no idea who they were dealing with. I texted back, tell her yes, but ask for receipts this time. If Wren and Ricky wanted to play games, I'd play along, but I was going to win. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from an unknown number. Your sister isn't who you think she is. Meet me at Riverside Park, bench by the fountain. Come alone. A friend. I stared at the message, my heart hammering. Someone else knew. Someone else had figured out what Wren was doing. The question was, friend or foe? I arrived at Riverside Park 20 minutes early, my nerves stretched tight as piano wire. The bench by the fountain was empty, so I sat down and tried to look casual while scanning every face that passed by. A jogger, an elderly man walking his dog, a mother pushing a stroller. Any of them could be my mysterious contact. Stephanie? I turned to see a woman about my age approaching, her dark hair pulled back in a ponytail, wearing scrubs like she'd just gotten off a hospital shift. "I'm Maria," she said, sitting down beside me. "I work at Women's Health Associates downtown. I think your sister has been using our clinic." My stomach dropped. "Using it how?" "She's been coming in for ultrasounds, paying cash, asking for extra copies of everything. But here's the thing. She's not our patient. She's been scheduling appointments under fake names, different insurance cards each time." "How do you know she's my sister?" Maria pulled out her phone and showed me a photo from the clinic's security camera. There was Ren, clear as day, sitting in a waiting room. "She mentioned you by name during one visit. Said she was doing this for her sister Stephanie, who couldn't have kids. The whole staff felt so sorry for her, this selfless woman carrying a baby for her infertile sister." Maria's voice turned bitter. "Except yesterday I saw her leaving with a man who was definitely not there for prenatal care." "What did he look like?" "Tall, dark hair, cocky smile. They were arguing about money in the parking lot. She kept saying, 'The Hanson woman this and the Hanson woman that,' like you were some kind of mark." "The Hanson woman, not her sister, not family, a target." "There's more," Maria continued. "I pulled some strings, checked with other clinics in the area. She's been to at least 4 different places, always paying cash, always asking for ultrasound photos and medical records, building a paper trail." "But she's actually pregnant, right? I mean, she looks pregnant." Maria gave me a pitying look. "Honey, you can buy a fake pregnancy belly online for $50. The good ones are so realistic they even have a heartbeat simulator." The world tilted sideways. Everything I'd believed, everything I'd hoped for, was built on lies. The baby I'd been dreaming about, planning for, spending my life savings on, didn't exist. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I have a sister too, and if someone was scamming her like this, I'd want to know." I thanked Maria and drove home in a daze. The house was quiet when I walked in. Todd was still at work and Ren's car was gone. I went straight to the master bedroom and started searching. In the closet, behind a stack of maternity clothes with tags still attached, I found a small suitcase. Inside were fake IDs, credit cards in different names, and a folder labeled Hanson Job. My hands shook as I opened it. Bank statements with our account numbers, photos of our house, inside and out, copies of our tax returns. How had she gotten those? A detailed timeline of our fertility struggles, complete with medical records I'd never shared with anyone. At the bottom of the folder was a handwritten note. Estimated take, $200K liquid assets plus house equity $450K. Timeline, 6 to 8 months max. Exit strategy, fake miscarriage at 7 months, emotional trauma, demand house as compensation for loss. I was still staring at the note when I heard the front door open. Ren's voice carried up the stairs, bright and cheerful. "Steph? I'm home. I got the most adorable onesies today." I shoved everything back into the suitcase and closed the closet door. When Ren appeared in the bedroom doorway, I was sitting on the bed, hands folded in my lap. "There you are. Look what I found." She held up a tiny yellow outfit. "Isn't it precious? Gender neutral, just in case." "Ren, we need to talk." "Of course. Let me just put these away." She bustled around the room, hanging up baby clothes, chattering about cribs and car seats. The performance was flawless. The glowing, expectant mother, radiant with purpose. "I know," I said quietly. She froze, a baby blanket halfway to the dresser. "Know what?" "I know about Ricky. I know about the fake appointments. I know about the plan." For a moment, her mask slipped completely. The sweet, scattered pregnant woman vanished, replaced by someone cold and calculating. Then she laughed. Oh, Steph, you always were too smart for your own good. She sat down across from me, no longer bothering to cradle her fake belly or speak in the soft maternal tone she'd been using for months. How long have you known? Long enough. The question is, what happens now? Ren smiled, and it was nothing like the warm, sisterly smiles I'd grown up with. This was predatory, triumphant. Now you're going to give me what I want, or I disappear with your baby and you never see either of us again. What baby, Ren? We both know there is no baby. But you don't know that, do you? Not for certain. Maybe I really am pregnant. Maybe this is all just paranoid speculation from a desperate woman who's lost her mind trying to have a child. She stood up and walked to the window, looking out at our backyard like she owned it. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to sign over the deed to this house. You're going to transfer another $100,000 to my account, and you're going to do it with a smile because if you don't, I'll disappear tomorrow and you'll spend the rest of your life wondering if you just threw away your only chance at motherhood. And if I refuse, then you get nothing. No baby, no closure, no answers. Just the knowledge that your own paranoia cost you everything you ever wanted. She turned back to me, her eyes glittering with malice. So what's it going to be, big sister? Are you going to trust family, or are you going to let your suspicions destroy the best thing that ever happened to you? I stood up slowly, walked to the dresser, and opened the top drawer. Inside was a manila folder I'd placed there that morning. Actually, Ren, I have a better idea. Why don't you read this first? I handed her the folder. She opened it, and I watched her face change as she read the first page. What is this? It's the contract you signed. The one Soleil drew up before we started this whole process. I suggest you pay special attention to Section 12. Her hands were shaking now as she flipped through the pages. The fraud clause, I continued helpfully. Any attempt to deceive or defraud the intended parents results in immediate forfeiture of all compensation, plus criminal charges, plus civil penalties of up to 5 times the amount obtained through fraudulent means. Ren's face had gone white. You want to play games? I smiled, and for the first time in months, it felt genuine. Let's play. Ren dropped the contract like it was on fire, her face cycling through confusion, fear, and finally rage. You can't be serious. This is some kind of joke. Read Section 15, I said, settling back on the bed like we were discussing weekend plans. The documentation clause. Every payment, every receipt, every text message requesting money has been carefully preserved and catalogued. She flipped pages frantically, her fake pregnancy belly shifting awkwardly as she moved. This is bullshit legal jargon. It doesn't mean anything. It means that the $63,000 you've taken from us over the past 4 months was obtained under false pretenses. In legal terms, that's called fraud. The penalties start at triple damages. 63,000? Her voice cracked. It wasn't that much. I pulled out my phone and opened the spreadsheet I'd been maintaining. Rent for the master bedroom, calculated at market rate for 4 months. Medical expenses, maternity clothes, spa treatments, organic food, prenatal vitamins, the pregnancy pillow, the sound system, the car payments I've been covering. Should I continue? Ren sank into the chair by the window, the contract scattered around her feet. For the first time since this started, she looked small. You don't understand. I needed the money. I'm in debt up to my eyeballs. I know. $23,000 in credit card debt, to be exact. Plus the money you owe Ricky's bookie, which is why you needed this score so badly. Her head snapped up. How do you know about Ricky? About the warrants? About your real name being Ren Man? I smiled. I hired a private investigator. Turns out you've been running this scam for 2 years. The grieving widow in Phoenix, the cancer patient in Denver, always targeting families dealing with medical crises. Those people could afford it. And that makes it okay? Ren stood up abruptly, pacing to the window. You have no idea what it's like watching you get everything handed to you. The perfect job, the perfect husband, the perfect house. Do you know what I have? Nothing. I've never had anything that was really mine. So you decided to steal mine? I decided to take what I deserved. Her voice rose to a shout. You've always acted like you're so much better than me. Miss Perfect with her college degree and her fancy career. Well, guess what? You're not that smart. You fell for it completely. Did I? Something in my tone made her stop pacing. She turned to face me, and I saw the first flicker of real fear in her eyes. What do you mean? I mean, I've known for weeks, Ren. The medical bills with the wrong name, the fake doctor appointments, the mysterious phone calls. Did you really think I wouldn't figure it out? If you knew, why didn't you stop me? Because I wanted to see how far you'd go, how much you'd steal, how completely you'd betray your own sister. I stood up and walked to the dresser, pulling out another folder. I also wanted to make sure I had enough evidence to bury you. This folder was thicker than the first. Bank records, photographs, audio recordings from the baby monitor I'd hidden in the kitchen. Ren's face went ashen as I flipped through the pages. Every conversation with Ricky, every lie you told Mom, every fake ultrasound photo you bought online. I pulled out a receipt. $59.99 for a premium pregnancy belly with heartbeat simulator. Really, Ren? You couldn't spring for the deluxe model? She lunged for the folder, but I stepped back. Don't. You can't do this to me. I'm your sister. My sister wouldn't have done this to me. Ren collapsed back into the chair, her fake belly making a soft whooshing sound as the air shifted inside. The sound was almost comical, but nothing about this felt funny. What do you want? She whispered. I want you to call Ricky. Right now. Tell him it's over. I can't. He'll kill me if I don't deliver. That's not my problem anymore. With shaking hands, Ren pulled out her phone and dialed. It went straight to voicemail. Ricky, it's me. We need to talk. Call me back. She tried 3 more times. Each call went to voicemail. He's not answering. Try texting. She typed rapidly, her fingers trembling. We waited. No response. He's gone, isn't he? I asked. Ren nodded miserably. He said if anything went wrong, he'd disappear. Leave me to handle the fallout. Honor among thieves. Stephanie, please. I know I screwed up, but I'm still your sister. We can work this out. I'll pay you back, I swear. With what money? You're broke, remember? And unemployed and about to be arrested. Arrested? I pulled out my phone and showed her the screen. I'm supposed to call Detective Morrison at 5 p.m. today. That's in 20 minutes. He's very interested in your little operation. You called the police? Soleil called the police. Fraud of this magnitude is a felony. You're looking at 5 to 10 years, minimum. Ren started crying then, big ugly sobs that shook her whole body. The fake pregnancy belly shifted and slipped, revealing the straps that held it in place. Please don't do this. I'll do anything. I'll disappear. You'll never see me again. Like you disappeared from Phoenix and Denver, how many other families are you going to destroy? I won't do it anymore, I swear. You're right. You won't. I picked up my phone and started dialing. Ren watched in horror as I put the call on speaker. Detective Morrison, this is Stephanie Hansen. I'm ready to make that statement. Actually, Mrs. Hansen, we've had a development. We picked up Richard Mann about an hour ago. He's been very cooperative, gave us everything. Bank records, fake documents, even recordings of him coaching your sister on what to say. Ren's face crumpled. Even Ricky had betrayed her in the end. We'll need your sister to come in for questioning. Is she available? I looked at Ren, who was frantically shaking her head. She's right here, Detective. We'll be there within the hour. After I hung up, Ren sat in stunned silence. The fake belly had shifted completely now, hanging at an awkward angle that would have been funny under different circumstances. I never meant for it to go this far, she whispered. Yes, you did. You planned every detail. You researched us for months. You knew exactly how desperate I was, and you used it against me. I'm sorry. No, you're not. You're sorry you got caught. I walked to the closet and pulled out the suitcase with all her fake documents. Get your things, real things, not the stuff you bought with my money. You have 10 minutes before we leave for the police station. What about Mom? What am I going to tell her? Tell her the truth. For once in your life, tell the truth. As Wren gathered her belongings, stripping off the fake belly and the maternity clothes, I felt something I hadn't expected. Not satisfaction, not victory. Just emptiness where my dreams used to be. The police station smelled like disinfectant and despair. Wren sat beside me in the waiting area, no longer bothering to maintain her pregnant act. Without the fake belly and maternity clothes, she looked smaller, younger, like the little sister I used to protect from playground bullies. Stephanie Hansen? A tall detective with graying hair approached us. I'm Detective Morrison. Thank you for coming in. This is my sister, Wren. Detective Morrison's expression didn't change, but I caught the slight tightening around his eyes. Ms. Mann, we need to discuss your recent activities. It's Hansen, Wren said automatically, then caught herself. I mean, it's complicated. Most fraud cases are. We were led to a small interview room where Detective Morrison laid out a stack of documents. Bank records, photos, transcripts of recorded conversations. Seeing it all spread out like that, the scope of Wren's deception was staggering. Your boyfriend has been very helpful, Detective Morrison said to Wren. Gave us a complete timeline of your operation. Says it was all your idea. Wren's face flushed. That's not true. Ricky planned everything. I just went along with it. According to him, you're the mastermind. He says you targeted your own sister specifically because you knew her vulnerabilities. He's lying. Detective Morrison pulled out a recording device. This is from yesterday. Mr. Mann called us from county lockup. He pressed play. Ricky's voice filled the room, tinny but clear. Wren's the brains of this operation. She researched her sister for months, knew exactly which buttons to push. The infertility thing was perfect, made Stephanie desperate enough to ignore obvious red flags. Wren went white. You can't believe him. He's trying to save himself. He also provided us with this. Detective Morrison slid a folder across the table. Your handwriting, I believe. It was the planning document I'd found in her suitcase, complete with timeline and financial projections. Wren's careful handwriting detailed every aspect of the scam. I want a lawyer, Wren whispered. That's your right. But I should mention, your boyfriend also told us about the other families. Phoenix, Denver, Sacramento. The FBI is very interested in talking to you. The blood drained from Wren's face. The FBI? Wire fraud across state lines is a federal crime. You're looking at serious time. After Wren was processed and taken to a holding cell, Detective Morrison walked me to my car. Your sister's in a lot of trouble, he said. But I have to ask, why did you let it go on so long? You could have stopped this months ago. I needed to be sure, and I needed evidence. Or maybe you wanted to see how far she'd go. The question hit closer to home than I wanted to admit. Maybe. Be careful, Mrs. Hansen. Sometimes when you stare into the abyss, it stares back. I drove home in silence, my phone buzzing constantly with calls from Mom. I wasn't ready to talk to her yet. Wasn't ready to explain how her youngest daughter had tried to destroy her oldest. Todd was waiting in the driveway when I pulled up. He looked like he'd aged 10 years in the past few hours. Is it over? It's over. He pulled me into a hug, and I felt his shoulders shake. I'm sorry, Steph. I should have seen it. Should have protected you. We both wanted to believe. Inside, the house felt different, empty. All of Wren's things were gone. The expensive maternity clothes, the baby supplies, the organic groceries. Even the master bedroom looked hollow without her presence. "What happens now?" Todd asked. "Now we try to get our money back. Soleil says we might recover some of it through asset forfeiture, but most of it's probably gone." "I don't care about the money." "I do. That was our future, Todd. Our house, our savings, our chance at adoption." He sat down heavily on the couch. "Maybe this is a sign. Maybe we should accept that we're not meant to be parents." "Don't say that." "Why not? Look what wanting a baby has done to us. To you. You turned into someone I barely recognize. The accusation stung because it was true. I was protecting us. You were getting revenge. There's a difference." Before I could respond, my phone rang. "Mom." "Stephanie, what's happening? The police called me about Ren. They said she's been arrested?" "Mom, I need you to sit down. Just tell me what's going on." So I told her everything. The fake pregnancy, the stolen money, the elaborate con game. Mom listened in silence, occasionally making small sounds of distress. "I don't understand," she said finally. "Why would she do this to you? To family?" "Because she could, because she knew I was desperate enough to fall for it." "But you're sisters. You're supposed to take care of each other." "I tried, Mom. For years I tried. But Ren doesn't want to be taken care of. She wants to take." "She's sick, Stephanie. She needs help, not prison." "She needs consequences. For the first time in her life, she needs to face real consequences." "You sound so cold." "I sound tired." After I hung up, Todd and I sat in silence. The house felt too big, too quiet. All those months of preparing for a baby, and now we were back where we started. Worse than where we started. "Genesis called while you were gone," Todd said. "She wanted to check on you." "What did you tell her?" "That you won." "But winning doesn't seem to have made you happy." He was right. I'd gotten my revenge, exposed Ren's lies, recovered some of our money. But sitting in our empty house, I felt hollow. The baby I'd dreamed about was never real. The sister I'd loved was a stranger. The marriage I'd thought was solid felt fragile. "I need some air," I said, grabbing my keys. "Steph, wait. We should talk about this." "Talk about what?" "How I destroyed our family. How I chose revenge over forgiveness. How I became exactly the kind of person I used to judge." "You protected yourself. There's nothing wrong with that." "Isn't there?" "I drove aimlessly for an hour, ending up at the park where I'd met Maria. The fountain was still running, children were still playing, life was continuing, like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "You always win, but at what cost?" I stared at the message, my hands trembling. Someone was watching. Someone knew what I'd done. But as I looked around the empty park, I realized the truth. The message wasn't from a stranger. It was from me. The courtroom was smaller than I'd expected, filled with the quiet murmur of legal proceedings and the scratch of the court reporter's fingers on her machine. Ren sat at the defendant's table in an orange jumpsuit, her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. She looked nothing like the glamorous con artist who'd lived in my house for 4 months. "The defendant will rise for sentencing," Judge Martinez announced. Ren stood on shaky legs, her public defender beside her. I was sitting in the gallery with Todd, who'd insisted on coming despite everything that had happened between us. "Ms. Mann, you've pled guilty to multiple counts of wire fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy. Before I pass sentence, do you have anything to say?" Ren turned to look at me, her eyes red-rimmed and hollow. "I'm sorry, Stephanie. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I am sorry. The court sentences you to 4 years in federal prison, followed by 3 years of supervised probation. You are also ordered to pay restitution in the amount of $87,000. The gavel came down with finality. Ren's shoulders sagged as the bailiff approached with handcuffs. As they led her away, She looked back at me one more time. I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no vindication, no closure. Just emptiness. Outside the courthouse, Todd and I stood on the steps in awkward silence. We'd been living like roommates for weeks, polite but distant, both of us processing what had happened in our own ways. "How do you feel?" he asked. "Like I should feel something more than this. Maybe that's normal. Maybe this is what justice actually feels like." A car pulled up to the curb and Genesis got out. She'd been my lifeline through all of this, the one person who didn't judge me for the choices I'd made. "How did it go?" she asked, joining us on the steps. 4 years, Todd said. Genesis nodded. "And Ricky?" 6 years. He had priors. We walked to a nearby coffee shop, the same one where Genesis had first warned me about Ren. It felt like a lifetime ago. "So what now?" Genesis asked after we'd ordered. "Now we figure out how to move forward," I said. "Todd and I are selling the house." Genesis looked surprised. "Really?" "Too many memories," Todd explained. "We need a fresh start." "Are you two?" "We're working on it," I said, reaching across the table to take Todd's hand. "Therapy helps. Turns out when you spend years focused on one thing, you forget how to talk to each other about everything else." "What about your mom?" That was the hardest part. Mom had visited Ren twice since the sentencing, but she hadn't spoken to me. In her mind, I was the one who'd destroyed the family by refusing to forgive and forget. "She'll come around," Todd said, squeezing my hand. "Or she won't. But that's her choice to make." My phone buzzed with a text from Soleil. "Asset recovery hearing tomorrow at 2 p.m. Bring the documentation we discussed." "The money?" Genesis asked, reading over my shoulder. "Some of it. Ren had hidden about 30,000 in various accounts. The rest is gone." "Is that enough?" I thought about the question. Enough for what? To rebuild our savings? To try IVF again? To feel whole? "It's enough to start over." A young couple walked into the coffee shop, the woman obviously pregnant, glowing with that happiness I'd once envied so desperately. I watched them order, noticed how the man's hand rested protectively on her back, how they shared secret smiles over their decaf lattes. For the first time in months, I didn't feel that familiar stab of jealousy. "I've been thinking about fostering," I said suddenly. Todd looked surprised. "Really?" "There are kids who need homes, kids who've been betrayed by the people who were supposed to protect them. Maybe I understand that better now. That's a big decision. So was trusting Ren, so was prosecuting her. All the big decisions are scary." Genesis smiled. "You sound different, stronger." "I feel different, like I finally know who I am when everything gets stripped away." "And who's that?" I thought about it, watching the pregnant couple settle into a corner booth, their whole future spread out before them like a promise. "Someone who doesn't give up, someone who fights for what matters, someone who learned the difference between justice and revenge." "What is the difference?" Todd asked. "Justice is about making things right. Revenge is about making someone pay. I thought I wanted revenge, but what I really wanted was to stop being a victim." My phone rang. "Mom." I stared at the screen for a moment, then answered. "Hi, Mom." "Stephanie." Her voice was careful, formal. "I saw the news about the sentencing. 4 years. I know you think I blame you for this. Don't you?" A long pause. "I blame myself. I enabled Ren her whole life, made excuses for her, cleaned up her messes. I taught her that actions don't have consequences if you're charming enough." "Mom," "Let me finish. What she did to you was unforgivable. I see that now. And what you did, it took courage. I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself." I felt tears prick my eyes for the first time since this whole thing started. "I miss you, Mom." "I miss you too, sweetheart. Can we try to rebuild this? All of us?" "I'd like that. After I hung up, Todd, Genesis, and I sat in comfortable silence. The coffee shop buzzed with life around us. Students studying, friends catching up, couples planning their futures. Normal people living normal lives, facing normal problems. So, Genesis said finally, what's the first step? I looked at Todd, who nodded encouragingly. We find a new house, something smaller, more manageable. We take the fostering classes. We figure out how to be married to each other instead of married to the idea of having a baby. Sounds like a plan. It's not the plan I started with. Sometimes the best plans are the ones you never saw coming. As we left the coffee shop, I caught my reflection in the window. The woman looking back at me was different from the one who'd started this journey. Older, maybe. Definitely wiser. Scarred, but not broken. I'd lost a sister, a dream, and a lot of money. But I'd found something more valuable. The knowledge that I could survive anything, even the worst betrayal from someone I loved. And sometimes, that's enough to build a whole new life on. The pregnant couple was still at their corner table, heads bent together over baby name books. I smiled at them as we passed, and for the first time in years, it didn't hurt. It felt like hope,